always happen. Problems will always happen. We want to make sure that we recognize that perceived problems that we think might happen in the future, they tend to be heavier. They tend to take more effort. They tend to take more energy than an actual problem. So what do I mean by that? So recently I had the lovely experience of finding a lump. And as you know, that can be kind of stressful because your brain goes to all the things it could be, and it goes to all the things it could be that are really bad. And it's the same in our business, right? Like you think about, oh, that employee was a bit short this morning. I'm worried they're going to resign, or I'm worried they're going to do something that they shouldn't do inside my business. Or maybe you're worried about a customer or a client re-signing or not re-signing, or maybe you have worked with them recently and you haven't heard from them and you're like worried that they didn't have a good experience, right? So think about all those things that happen inside our business, not just our health things or our things that happen for us, but all those things that could potentially happen as problems. And they are way heavier, harder, more challenging, take up more brain space and more emotional bandwidth than an actual problem. Why? Well, the difference is action. Once I know what the problem is, I can start working on a solution. I can start taking action. While it's just a problem in my head, all I can do is think about it and worry about it. And so that takes up so much bandwidth, not bandwidth in my head that I could be using on something else. I could be using on making sure my clients are actually getting a great experience, on actually making sure the employees are happy, on actually solving a problem if a customer has had a real problem. And yet most of the time we have these kind of like potential things going on in our head. And so here's the thing. We want to take them from being thoughts and worries up here and define whether they're an actual problem or they're just something that we're worrying about needlessly. Because something I've learned, I'm still not perfect at this by any stretch of the imagination, but worrying about something, doesn't matter how much I worry about, how much effort, how much energy, how many tears, how many sleepless nights I put into something, my worrying about it does not fix it. I've not yet figured that out. And so that's a whole lot of wasted energy and sleep and all those things that are actually really useful for me to use towards something else. And so instead, what I want to do is I want to take it from being something that I'm like worrying to death up here, and I want to take it and put it into a format that I can do something with. So if I'm like, ooh, I think that customer or that client's unhappy, the way that I can find out is by having a conversation. I can be like, I just want to check in. How are things going? How did you find that? And if there is a problem, then the cool thing about it is you can fix it. But if you don't have the conversation, you're just going to spend all that energy, all that time, and you've only got so much energy and so much time in any given day. Why would you give it to something that might not even be a problem? My mum, when I was a kid, God, I feel like I say that my mum is right so often. Maybe it's because I'm a mum now and that's what I tell my daughter. But, you know, I would use, you're crossing bridges over rivers that you haven't even come up to yet. Like you're worrying about whether you can get across that river and you don't even know if you're going to have to cross that river yet. You don't even know if that's the direction you're going in. And it's the same with the way that we think about our problems and our challenges in our business. We want to think about how do we get them to a place we know that we're going to have to deal with them. We know we're going to have to solve it, right? So rather than waiting for it to maybe or maybe not happen, we could bring it to fruition earlier. So we can have the conversation with the employee we think is maybe unhappy. It doesn't have to be scary, just a little chat. It doesn't have to be, you know, sleepless nights about will that client work with me again or that customer buy from us again. You can actually just reach out and have a conversation and go, hey, how can we work together going forward? And then you'll know. Then if they say, well, no, we don't want to because this thing happened and we weren't happy with it, now you can solve it. Now you can take action. And the difference between something that's perceived, that's in your head, it's so heavy and so weighty, and it will take your focus away from the things that matter. Whereas the moment that you have a real life problem, you can do something about it. And it was the same for me with my health challenge, right? While it was a potential, it could be this, the big C and the bad word, versus once we got the, oh, it's not that at all, I had to think about, all the potential futures, right? I had to think about, well, if it's this sort of cancer and that sort of cancer and this sort of thing. It's the same with your client. Like, if you haven't had a conversation with them, you can think about all the perceived problems that they could be having with you instead of just the one that actually needs solving. And so we always want to make sure we're solving the right problem and taking action on that rather than trying to take action on everything. Oh, that's exhausting. So checking in, finding out what the actual problem is, whether it's with a team member, whether it's with a supplier or a customer. It might even be with someone in your family or your household or a friendship. So figure out what the actual problem is, and then you can take action to solve it, because thinking about and worrying about something that may or may not happen is wasting your energy as the business owner. And you need to use your brain for solving actual problems, because there's plenty of real problems in your business. There's plenty of actual things you need to take action on. Don't add to it by carrying around these weighty perceived problems. Get them out of your head, make a decision on them, ask a question, get some more information, and move forward, because you will find perceived problems, they're exhausting. Whereas real problems, you're a great problem solver. So you're just going to get on with it and solve it. You just have to make sure you have a problem first before you go any further.